So my name is Ciaran Rogers. I'm the Digital Marketing Director for Target Internet. And I was asked to come along today to tell you all about latest and effective digital marketing techniques. And it's a bit of a challenge really, because very often you can fall into the trap of talking about the latest medium or social media kind of darling that's out there, or the latest and greatest tool that does stuff. And believe me, I've trodden on that landmine and done it. The problem is they're not always relevant for every organisation, and they're not always relevant for terribly long either. So I'm a great believer in taking a step back and kind of looking at the bigger picture. So what I decided I wanted to do today, and I am going to share some funky tools. We've got some toys to take away and play with. So don't mourn the loss of that. I'm definitely going to give you something useful to make use of. But I'm going to take a bit of a step back and look more generally at this whole kind of battleground that is the internet and content marketing in particular. So this morning, I'm from the Isle of Wight, by the way, and I got up nice and early to get here. I was busy rushing around getting ready, and my daughter, Izzy, who's 7, was a bit worried about me because I was a bit under the weather yesterday. I wasn't feeling terribly well, had a very high temperature, so slept it off and fine now. But she was a bit worried about me, and she came up to me this morning as I'm herring to get out the door to catch the hovercraft, and said, "Daddy, I've got this for you." I was like, "Great, thanks." "What is it?" And she said, "It's a magic pebble. It's going to help you today." And I'm like, "Seriously? Has anybody else got kids that spring these things on them when they, yeah?" Just kind of nod in agreement if I need to know that you're with me on this. So here we are. Here's my magic pebble, and being a good dad, I kind of, well, she was most insistent. In fact, she maybe promised that I'd take it with me, and so I popped it in my pocket and went, yeah, that's fine. It didn't crop up again in my day until the ticket inspector asked to see my ticket on the train, and out fell out the magic pebble. Which caused me to think about it. There was no internet on the train, so I couldn't get any work done. And I was sat there staring at this magic pebble. And she'd assured me it was going to be useful for me today. It was going to help me. And I started thinking about how. Because I'm a great believer, you should listen to your children. They're wise beyond their years in many cases. And I began to think actually in terms of websites. And I've been in this industry for, 20 years I've been dealing in digital marketing. And I've come across a lot of websites that are a bit like a magic pebble. I don't know whether any of you can relate to this, but you have this thing because the powers that be have said you've got to have one. And it's going to be really good, yeah? It's going to magically transform things. But does it actually? Are you actually investing the time to get anything out of that website? In a lot of cases, it's not. It's just kind of everybody's sort of unhappy with the website because it's this thing that doesn't meet their needs, or it's not up to date. And every 2 or 3 years, somebody comes along and says, well, it's rubbish. It's not as good as our competitors. We need to update it. And if you're lucky or unlucky, depending on how you look at it, you get to direct that. Does that resonate with anybody? Yeah, a little bit. So are we using our websites enough? And what I wanted to kind of give you was a bit of a strategy for taking a look at your website and making more use of it. So this little thing here, I'm just going to play, but this is a website called Live Internet Stats, and it counts the number of users on all the various different platforms. And those numbers are a bit mind-boggling, yeah? I think for some of you involved in buying stuff, it's probably a little bit like your inbox, undealt with emails. It just kind of goes up and up and up, and that's what happens if you see this site. So you've got all these platforms, all these different mediums that grab your attention. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with this level of complexity and these numbers of people? Well, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a model to kind of take a step back and look at this. And we're going to use now the power of the magic stone. Because what I'd like to do is to cast you all back, everyone in this room, we're going to go back 7,000 years to a place in, I think this is in Libya, it's called the Cave of Beasts. And 7,000 years ago, somebody drew this on the wall. And it definitely tells a story. Has anybody seen, you've all seen cave drawings, yeah? Back then, that was the medium. That was quite why they had to do it in a cave, I don't know, but that was the way of communicating things. I guess those things just stuck around. And the theory is that these were done by adolescents who were the predominant kind of population at that point, possibly under the influence of drugs, hallucinogenics, and they were kind of telling stories. And that was the medium then. That was what got people's attention. What I love is we're still looking at them now, trying to work out what it's about. You know, how brilliant is that? And they couldn't possibly have known that. Now, kind of if we fast forward several thousand years, it's still all about attracting eyeballs if you're into content marketing. So there's a constant need for new story angles, how-to content, A/B testing, testimonials and reviews, wireless pocket portable technology, social competitions, measurements. All these things as a digital marketer are kind of thrown at you into the mix. And I wanted to share this with you, which is 49 characters of pure attention-grabbing gold. Sunlight soap, hashtag sunlight soap, the best soap for washing pigeons. Now you read that and you want to know more, right? Like I did. It's like, really? Well, I didn't even know there was a requirement to wash pigeons. But an absolutely brilliant twin. It kept me begging for more, and I wanted to find out more. What's really interesting is that was from a book published in 1899 called the Sunlight Yearbook. And brilliant piece of marketing. These guys, they eventually became Lever Brothers, right? So they knew how to succeed. They're quite successful last time I checked. Back in 1899, they were publishing this, and it was a stroke of brilliance, really. I think there is an earlier version. I picked this up in a second-hand junk store. And there's all sorts of useful stuff like how to butcher a fish, how to bind a wound, how to read someone's palm. And on every single page, there are tips on how to use Sunlight soap. And actually, you get into it and you just want this stuff. And I haven't made it for years. I've got vague recollections there was a block of this stuff in the downstairs bathroom at an old house that we lived in. But it was truly ancient and quite revolting. But this stuff is brilliant. Every tip, every page, there's a little tip on how to use it. They also had social competitions in there. There was a brilliant mashup of all the heads of European states, like different members of royal families and stuff. And you had like the Prince of Luxembourg's eye and someone else's nose and what have you. All done as a line drawing, not dissimilar to the kind of Photoshop things that we have now. And there were lots and lots of testimonials. Oh, and it was kind of a wireless technology. I may be stretching the point there. Point I'm making is that none of this stuff is new because people are people. And we are still, as we were 7,000 years ago, driven by stories. The difference is that modern cave walls are very different. So we've got everything from laptops, tablets, mobile phones. That icon's supposed to represent the Amazon Echo. But that's kind of a big thing at the moment, right? It's kind of a verbal medium. So you're not even painting a picture. It's very much a verbal medium. And the rise, very relevant for you guys, the rise of the connected TV and all that can bring. And as content marketers, our job is to catch hold of people's attention and reach out to them. And some of the things that we're talking about earlier about establishing relationships, your website content is a great ambassador for you. If it's written well and done well, it can really resonate with your audiences and start that relationship so that when you do actually make contact, people are coming to you and saying, well, I've read about what you do and it's really interesting. Majority of people, if they have a problem at some point, will Google it. Are you being found under the right searches? Now, there are no shortage of tools. Yeah, so if you want to grab eyeballs, there's a whole world of content out there. This is a little matrix done by Smart Insights. Definitely a website if you're interested in digital marketing you should go along to. And really the idea is you just add content and you get all the results out, right? Well, I don't believe that's the case because actually you have to have a really good process for undermining any tools that are out there. I'm sure you find that in your industry. Yeah, you've all got different tools that provide solutions for people. And for me, it's not about the tools. It's about having a really great process and picking the few tools that really work for you. Yeah. So as marketers, we all love the new latest shiny thing, but you have to take a step back from that and actually ask yourself strategically, what are you trying to do? And actually, this little cartoon for me kind of really helps. It's a cartoon of ground baiting. Has anybody, have we got any fishermen in the room? No fishermen in the room. Well, ground baiting is a process where when you're going fishing, you throw out food that the fish you're after will like, and they swim along and find it. You do that maybe 2 or 3 times before you go to that spot and fish. And then once they've found that the fish do congregate around the area that you've ground baited, and you're much more likely to catch fish. And it is a very effective fishing technique. And I love to think of marketing in fishing terms. You are casting your nets out there, and you are actually going after particular types of fish who hang out in particular places. And they might be hanging out on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook or email, wherever they're hanging out. And the job is to try and grab their attention with stuff that's useful for them, because there's lots of people out there searching for solutions. And all of your content gets used in multiple places, so emails, blogs, websites, paid search, video, display advertising, social media. The successful strategy is very much layering your messages into different channels so that there's every chance that your fish will find it. So this is a model that I wanted to give you, which is a 10,000-foot view of effective digital marketing management. And to kind of simplify it for you, I'm going to come down here. Hopefully everyone can see this. But right at the center here, we have the hub. Yeah, that's your website, your blog, your portal, whatever it is online that you have. And for me, that's like the heart. Yeah, that's pumping blood around your business. And it's connected to these two lungs. So on the right-hand side here, we've got social networks, influencer blogs, portals, news sites. And you're pushing your content out into those areas to get the attention of the different fish that you're after. In turn, you're also hopefully doing some search engine marketing and pushing content out through pay-per-click or through organic search results into the search engines. What a lot of people don't realize is the search engines are also indexing all the stuff over in this lung here and working out what's popular and what's not, what's got the shares, what's got the likes, whatever that measurement is. And what's lovely for them is they get contextual and time relevant information from these guys, and vice versa. Equally, these guys are using the search engines to find content that they can talk about and write about. So this is a lovely ecosystem. So you push content out into these two areas, they cross-reference one another, and if your stuff's popular and has enough links back, you get traffic in from each of these areas. Now, it doesn't stop there. What's really important is that you are listening to what's going on and monitoring what's going on in these two areas. And you have to do that in order to have a successful campaign. Equally, what's going to help inform this is your measurement and ROI. So that's going to be like your Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics, whatever platform that you're using. And what you do is you use this social monitoring and listening and participation to find out what your customers are into and what they like. You use your reporting and your ROI to inform what new content that you're going to do. Yeah? So this is like the brain, right? So we're using all of this, we're measuring what's going on, and we're using our brain to work out what do we need more of? What worked? What didn't? Now, are you measuring to that level? And if not, why are you doing the content? You need to be doing this. And that's the model that I would always use. Okay, so basically what we're doing is, and it's called the World Wide Web for a reason, yeah? It's all interlinked, and we're creating a nice sticky web. And it's hard when you've got all these different channels. It's a little bit like kind of conducting an orchestra. You've got your content teams, and you've got your email team, and you've got your PR team, and they're all doing this different stuff, and everybody's terribly busy, but is it all synced up? Everybody within those teams can probably, I hope, play a really good tune. But are they playing a really good tune together? That's hard, but that's where the sweet spot is in digital marketing. And if you can, you want to make use of digital artificial intelligence to help you with this. And there's lots and lots of platforms out there that can help you in lots of different ways. Artificial intelligence can really do some of the heavy lifting for you. Are you top of search? Was a very common question. Boards and various companies I work for always wonder, are we number one in Google? The question now is number one for what? On which device? For who? And where? Because Google have gone, and Bing have gone really kind of hyper-local now. And depending on how much you use their service and whether you're logged in, they will learn what you particularly like and start serving those devices up for you. What's interesting here is if you do a search for SEO company, and you'll get 4 adverts before you get to any of the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 slots in Google. So actually, your strategy probably does need to include paid search advertising, even for content that you want to push out there. It's a great way of guaranteeing that you get to the number 1 spot. But the trick to this is not being number 1 for everybody. The trick is segmenting and using digital technologies, and there's some brilliant targeting functionality that you can use with Google AdWords to actually target the right people that are interested. Maybe it's people that have visited your website or spent a certain amount of time on the website that you want to be targeting because they're more valuable to you than just everybody. And that's great because it means we don't have to pay an arm and a leg to Google every week to be at the top of search results for everybody. Mobile technology is hugely important, and the speed of your website on a mobile device is massively important as well. And you should be monitoring that. So if you want a successful website, in a lot of industry segments that I've looked at, mobile is reaching 30, 40, 50% of the audience now. And hey, who hasn't got a mobile phone in their pocket that they Google stuff on and search stuff on? Now, to be successful in getting through now, you need to have an effective mobile site. And that means not scrolling left and right when you're on a mobile device to read it all. It needs to be responsive, but it also needs to be fast. Yeah, so if you're not invested in technology to deliver your content really, really well, and particularly for you guys like delivering video content, if that's what you're into, you need a really great content delivery network in order to deliver that stuff, or it's just going to slow down to a halt and kill the internet speed. So constantly updating your online content and meeting this need really. There's two needs really, what the brand wants to tell people and what the audience want to engage with. And a number of people have kind of spoken about that today. And successful digital marketing aims to bridge the gap with understanding-driven strategy. And that's kind of really what I'm answering. And if you've listened and if you've monitored and you're recording and your analytics are what the results are and looking at the outcomes that you're getting, you can get to this. But it's not easy. And there are plenty of kind of funnel systems out there. Here's another one from Smart Insights where you kind of plan your content, you go for reach, and then you go for people that are going to act on it, and then they're going to convert, and then you aim for kind of your customer advocates at the end. We've all come across that funnel, right? And Google have got their own one. They follow Avinash Kushak's simple version, really: see, think, do, and care. You're trying to get hold of customers at each stage of those funnels. But what you do need to do is start thinking about, well, how much content have we got on our site that's just grabbing people's attention and reach? How many people are going to be engaging with the content and actually thinking about what we do? And how much of this content is actually going to be aimed at converting? And how much of the content is going to be aimed at engaging people? You should plan this out. It works an absolute treat. There are some brilliant tools out there for search insights. This is one. Has anybody used Ask the Public? Yeah, brilliant website. You type any question into it that people might search on, and it will give you kind of a semantic breakdown of all the different things that are popular searches on Google. It uses those instant results that you get when you start typing in and Google starts trying to guess what it is that you're asking. It uses those. And you need to make use of this to become a bit of an expert in what your customers search for. What are your common problems and how are people searching for them? Take a look at this and it'll start to give you an insight. And this also will help give you an insight into what content you actually need to produce to help solve your customers' problems. This is a little story behind this one. We did some consultancy for a bank who will remain anonymous. But they were delighted with the results. We started doing the content marketing that you suggested, and it's been brilliant. We've had like a 300% increase in engagement. We're like, really? Like, yeah, we did. And we took a look at what they were doing before, and we took a look at what they were doing afterwards. And actually, they had the content there. But the thing that they'd done is they'd moved this button here. So it was up here on the first slide, and moved it down here. And what was really interesting, when we started digging into the analytics, we realized they didn't really know what they were looking at. Because actually what had happened was that the website wasn't particularly fast. It took 5 seconds to load. Kind of most people were clicking onto the personal banking within 5 to 7 seconds or so. But then they moved the button. And of course, everybody who used the website couldn't find it. And actually, it was taking them 15 seconds. So you get kind of 300% increase in engagement. No, not really, because actually you made it harder for them. So the point I wanted to make with this is it's really important that you know and understand how to use your analytics. Because if you don't, you might as well kind of pack up shop, really. It's just going to give you false reads. Common mistake I always used to come across. For years, I was a digital marketing strategist for lots of big brands. And they love spending money on Google. Let's spend more money. Let's buy more traffic. This is the answer. And my key message to you here is it's way better to improve the number of people doing things of value on your website. Go for that every time. Now, literally a 0.5% increase in conversion rate can translate to many, many thousands of pounds you don't have to spend on Google. And you need to get good at this. You need to invest in and study conversion rate optimization. You need to set up a really great A/B testing platform, a Google Optimize or similar. Google Optimize is free, so why wouldn't you? And set up those A/B tests and learn how to get slicker at what you're doing and know what you're looking at. Otherwise, that could be your latest analytics insights. It kind of tells a story and it's kind of interesting. Does anybody here feel a bit like that when they're looking at analytics reports, the latest and greatest thing from Google? And I guess that's kind of where Target Internet come in. We can help you with this stuff, and we've got lots of training and resources to help you do that. As you produce more and more content, so you'll find you get traffic spikes when you put it out, but then each piece over time gathers momentum. So to give you an example, at the moment we do a thing called a digital marketing podcast, and we've got over 140 episodes out there now. We've been doing it for 7 years. But the really interesting thing is each episode will maybe each month get 8,000 to 9,000 downloads, but we're getting 40,000, 50,000 downloads every month. And that's because we've got a volume of content. So don't never underestimate the long-term value. It's not just about what you get off that initial pulse. To really enact upon your digital capability, there are certain essentials you need. So primarily, you need leadership buy-in. So if there are any leaders in here, you need to support this from the absolute go, because without that, everything falls flat. You need to invest in your team ability. You need to invest in your market resources and readiness. And you need to really focus on performance and getting those all-important above-the-line results in. One of the things we've developed at Target Internet is a free diagnostic test. So any of you can take this. It takes about 20 minutes. And for anybody involved in their digital marketing, I'd really urge you to do this. What it will do is it'll ask you a number of questions which you answer. And they're all multiple choice, nice and easy. And depending on your results, it gives you a map, depending on the job that you're doing, of how well equipped you are knowledge-wise for actually competing in the marketplace. And it'll also make recommendations on training and modules and areas that we would recommend you mug up on. So it's a great way of getting an idea of benchmarking yourself against others within the industry. We have literally thousands of people have done this, so we're using data from all those different positions to quantify the results that we're giving. And I promise you some goodies. So I've put together this. You go to targetinternet.com/tools. And you can find a link there to benchmark your skills. You can subscribe to our podcast where we talk about lots of funky, interesting things relating to digital marketing. Try and making the world a better place. And you can also download our digital marketing toolkit. Now I put that in there because there are loads of tools out there that can help. There's a review of 50 key tools that we highly recommend. And I challenge any of you to not find something in there that will be of use to you. And it's a link to Quill Engage. If you feel like your analytics reports are a bit like cave drawing, Quill Engage is a lovely piece of artificial intelligence. It's free for a single user account. And what it does is it'll whiz through Google Analytics and it'll produce you a natural English language report on what the analytics is telling you. It's lovely. I've shown this to experienced analysts, and they look scared when they see this because it's actually quite good. And I wouldn't say it's the be all and end all because it will cause you to ask a lot more questions, but that's always a start to any great digital marketing campaign. You need to understand this stuff. Okay, what this is brilliant at doing is comparing different periods and showing you what's changed. Yeah, but then the questions start, and that's a great road to success. So give it a go. It's free to sign up. Subscribe to the Digital Marketing Podcast, and you can hear more of myself, my colleague Daniel, and that's everything that I had to say.